So, just making this video as a response real quick to basically root out a bit of a absolute retard in the One Punch Man community. Why give up 11 says that I'm cherry picking and clearly has no idea, like, literally what the fuck he's talking about. Talking about that Saitama has taken damage from Garo before and pretty much thinks he has some sort of receipts throughout this whole video of mad rambling just to try to prove me wrong, as he likes to basically go after everybody who doesn't agree with him 100% as a crazy person that he is. So the first half of Saitama taking damage was chapter, what was it, 156 or 65, where he shows Monster Garo, or in this case, Monster Garo basically evolving into Cosmic Fear mode, becoming equal to Saitama, which, weirdly enough, you would think that basically this whole thing would mean that Saitama is easily bleeding, right? Well, not necessarily. And here's someone else who's a Saitama fan and a One Punch Man fan who easily disproves this point.
Because we see his face contort here when he and Garo clash with their fists, and they think that here is the mark of a nosebleed, and possibly on his gloves too. Now, not only does this narratively not make sense given how strong we know Saitama is, and that he's pretty much invulnerable to anything, even stuff that makes zero sense, but it's quite obvious that Saitama didn't take damage here, and this is clearly not a nosebleed here either. The biggest piece of evidence is the fact that throughout the fight, Saitama is not caring whatsoever, literally telling Garo that he's talking like a bad guy right before he gets instantly stomped. And also Saitama literally only caring about his clothes, not paying any mind to Garo. On top of that, before this panel, we even see that same mark below Saitama's nose right here in this panel. That happens before Saitama gets punched in the face and talks about getting...
So, basically, he has this mark under his nose before. But I'm leaving out context, says this guy. He had this mark before. And the only thing he's worried about is his clothes. But yet, basically, the dirt that's on his body is not dirt. That's bumps and bruises, huh? That's an actual nosebleed?
Scratched. So this mark wasn't even caused by this punch that people are saying affected Saitama, and it's clearly not blood. Also, there's not blood on Saitama's gloves, that's literally just the shading on his gloves. As you can see, it's the same on the rest of his fingers as well. Also, in the panels afterward, the mark under Saitama's nose is gone, clearly not him actually taking damage, because if it was actually that important, then it would be pretty apparent. That's not even including the fact that these same lines are literally scattered around his face, and that's clearly not him taking damage. That and this exact same thing happened in the Boros fight, which we know Saitama 100% did not take damage from. It's pretty obvious that Saitama didn't take damage here. The implications would have been much more apparent, and Saitama's reaction would have been completely different than the not caring attitude he's still showing throughout the fight. A lot of this fight is literally just a straight up parallel from what happened between Saitama and Boros, and if you still think that Saitama took damage against Boros, you're actually just delusional. It's quite clear Saitama didn't take damage here. It doesn't make sense narratively, it doesn't make sense logically, it doesn't even make sense art-wise, and it doesn't make sense given the context of anyone's reactions here. If you think Saitama took damage here, I think you're missing the part where he intentionally jumps in the air to get Garo to aim his gamma ray burst at him and not the earth simply because Saitama knew he could tank it. But then again, if you think he took damage, you're probably stupid enough to think that Saitama died tanking the star erasing attack. Anyway, now that we have the most important thing out of the way, this chapter was a banger. Garo apparently gained the knowledge of the flow of all the energy and behavior of all the forces in the universe, uses his...
So, again, basically, bro took the life eradication blast from Garo, which was, what, a gamma ray burst? But yeah, he immediately took damage from punches from Saitama. Yeah, that makes sense. Even the nuclear fission fist, yeah, he totally took damage from that. Let's go to another so-called example that this lunatic thought he had on me as a gotcha. So again, with the Boros fight. Oh, that looks like real damage right there. Does this look like the face of a man who is acknowledging those little burn scorches that aren't really even actual damage? It's like, what, dirt that could just easily be wiped off? Like charcoal? The only time he probably really takes damage is from a fucking cat. Let that sink in for a joke. For a joke. Oh yeah, he totally took damage here, right? This is the panel you showed. Totally took damage. Promising Tario he won't get hurt. And he didn't. He proceeded to go on to beat the ever-living shit out of Garo and not get hurt. Oh yeah, totally. That totally looks like some damage right there. Let's continue.
His all-life eradication fist nuclear fission attack, which literally causes an actual nuclear explosion, all of which Saitama tanks. We get this amazingly animated panel from Murata of Saitama and Garo fighting with their silhouettes lit up in the clouds. We get Saitama complaining about his outfit being messed up, Garo not understanding how Saitama could be caring about that right now, Garo just being weird and then going mode Saitama, which makes Saitama go what the fuck. Garo uses consecutive normal punches, Saitama returns the same attack to counter, they clash into a huge explosion, they smash into each other's faces, Saitama, similar to the Boros fight, gets into a situation where he can't breathe, Garo talks about how Saitama is probably going crazy thinking about the fact that this is the first time he's...
Oh, look at this. This is the same panel you showed. Why give up? This is the same panel you showed, where the context was that he basically was supposedly holding his nose because of a nosebleed, huh? Weird. Weird how that works. Where Garo matches him blow for blow. But, again, weird. He's coming out of, what, the water? Holding his nose? Could it be?
in a situation where someone mashed him in an exchange of blows. Then it cuts to Saitama complaining about getting scratched.
And what follows up after that? Bro, you can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. Delusional and practically a fraud at this point. Why give up? And if you see this, you can eat a dick, because clearly you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You never did. All it takes is to actually go back and basically take a look at the chapter just to see if Saitama actually took damage. Everybody throughout that whole entire Garo versus Saitama fight who's paying attention knows this. So, you're a fucking retard. Don't ever cook again. Like, even if it's the last thing you do, like, bruh, you're obviously stupid.
The idiots reading this take this as Saitama complaining nonchalantly about taking damage for the first time ever, while anyone who can read the room sees that Saitama is clearly just upset about his clothes and not even fazed one bit. He's still not even concerned that he can't beat Garo, or outmatch him in an exchange of blows. Then Garo uses a gamma ray burst, because that's definitely a martial arts technique, I guess, and Saitama jumps into the air to keep it from grazing the earth, and now power scalars are in shambles because Saitama just noticed and tanked a large star level attack that was actually literal, because one in Murata included this panel, about how a gamma ray burst is an explosion that occurs at the end of the life of a massive star, and is the largest and most powerful explosive phenomenon that has ever been confirmed in the universe. But because people are stupid like always, someone's going to argue that this is not literal, and that if it was actually a real gamma ray burst, then it should have decimated the planet, and since it didn't do that, it's clearly not actually star level, because even though we're reading a manga about a guy who got so strong doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every single day, he can now one-punch anyone, and a weird extra-dimensional alien being who goes by the name of God that can hand out cosmic powers and understanding gave a runaway martial arts master with daddy issues the power to unleash a gamma ray burst, shows clearly this series is built on realism and one-to-one consistency. And Garo sees himself as absolute evil. He then thanks God and cries galaxies. Then it shows how Garo told God to get ripped, but even though Garo barely touched God's hand, Garo still got a power-up and is now the avatar of God, and Garo exclaims that it's time to conduct evil. So this chapter was absolutely insane. My thoughts are just that this was awesome and I can't wait to see more. Spoiler alert, Saitama is definitely going to beat Garo, and I know I'm ruining it for all the people who think Garo is stronger than Saitama right now, but it's clearly true. I'm thinking we're going to get Blast and crew coming to...
So, by the way, this is the chapter before that. Before the Io fight. Before, basically, Saitama gets serious and basically does a serious punch square. So it goes to show that basically this dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Absolute clown. And for more context, this picture right here, if I can find it. Oh, wow, hold up. Yeah, he was so equal in strength to him that someone here on the ground is bleeding out with his face basically nearly caved in. Meanwhile, the guy who's supposedly taken damage from Garo throughout the entire fight, look at this. He's taken damage. Like, clearly, look at those scratches. Those are clearly damage, right? But look at Garo. He's actually bleeding. That's actual damage. Where's the blood from Saitama? Again, you're a bozo. Like I said, never cook again. Anyways, that's all I wanted to show, because clearly some people like Mr. Why Give Up doesn't actually understand power scaling or basically durability power scaling at all, especially when you in your own words said you don't know the full extent of Saitama's durability and power. The same guy. Now, I'll give it to you. You did know what you were talking about with the whole power scaling thing with Saitama being at least 4D. But after that, with the whole, oh, Garo clearly damaged him thing, yeah, you're done. Never cook again.